How I found out my ex-husband, aka the random man in Rancho, was having an affair. Part 1. I decided to finally do a story time that I'm going to leave here on my page because it's something that you guys ask me constantly when I'm on live, and I'm just tired of repeating the same fucking story. So buckle up, bitch. It's story time. February of 2019, shit was bad. Real bad. I was sick and tired, and so was he. So I took my kids and myself and stayed at my mom's, my best friend's, and my sister's house for about 2.5 to 3 weeks. The fights were about money, our child's education, daycare, shit we still fight about. Reasons why the divorce is still not processed. But I digress. In this 2.5 to 3 week time period while I was staying between my best friend, my sister, and my mom's house, not once did he try to repair anything. I was always the one that was trying to communicate. Obviously, I can communicate effectively, as you guys can see. Instead, in that time period, he was attacking me and calling me a piece of shit mom. What kind of mother am I to have his kids sleeping on the floor somewhere instead of at home? But he never came to pick them up either. Instead, you know what he was doing? Having barbecues at our house with his friends. Going out. Spending the night on his homie's couch. Obviously, I didn't know it at the time, but that's when he started an affair. But I was the bad mom. Mind you, I kept my daughter with me 24/7. She was only 7 months old. She was fully breastfed. On top of having my toddler, AC, who was only a year and a half, and also couldn't be without me for a prolonged period of time. But I digress. Also in this time period, again, the continued accusations of me cheating. Who the fuck am I with? When my mom is watching the kids, when my sister's with the kids, blah, 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 who's covering up for me, etc. Girl, I couldn't even fucking brush my hair. I couldn't even fucking think straight. I was going through postpartum, trying to figure my fucking self out, run a business, and deal with my kids, and deal with what the fuck was going on in my home as well. In any case, I get fed up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to move my stuff out. I load up a whole U-Haul. My dad helps me, and we hire some Home Depot people to help. And I remember on that drive, my dad was like, if you fucking go back, you're fucking stupid. He's doing something behind your back. How did my dad know that? Because my dad lived at my house. My dad never left. Even though I left, my dad was still there. Rest in peace to my daddy, but he was still there. And he would tell me, hey, random man in Rancho didn't come home. Where would he be at? It's like, great question. He wasn't giving me any answers. So my dad was like, don't go back. You're fucking stupid if you go back. Nonetheless, random man in Rancho, in whatever way, conversation, discussion that we have ends up, finessing me back home. And obviously I wanted to come back home too. Like, I had no self-love, no self-worth, etc. So I was like, okay, well, let's fucking figure this out. So there we go. Take the U-Haul back, unloads, and I'm back at home unpacking all the shit we packed up. It wasn't a lot. It was just like my clothes and shit like that. But I noticed a huge change in behavior. However, I'm not a person that is an accusatory person or that accuses you of like doing things behind my back. I need to have like proof. I'm just seeing these things, but I'm like, oh, okay, like obviously we've been fighting, there's some problems, etc. Some of those things were that he had an increased sex drive. Not that men don't, but it was just different, weird, didn't add up, especially because we really weren't getting along. He also focused a lot more on his appearance, and he was buying himself new clothes, new shirts, when I used to be the one that used to purchase all of these things for him. But I was like, well, hey, he works. We're 50-50, so he could do whatever he wants with his extra money, so whatever. New colognes, new shoes, and all of a sudden started really worrying about his hygiene. He had like really bad dental hygiene. He really immediately wanted to get that fixed and was like super defensive if I would spend a lot of money because he wanted that money to be able to fix his hygiene. Those were also some very big arguments. He starts arriving home at later times, and at the end of the night, he starts putting his cell phone in one of his drawers. Again, I don't think anything of it. I just think he's tossing his phone in there like he tosses his change, his wallet, etc. And it's crazy now when I've seen TikTok how much you could hide on an iPhone. Like you could literally put a select person on do not disturb and you will never see their text messages come in. You could communicate through the notes app, like all these things that they knew that I was like oblivious to. And I never went through phones ever until after the fact. Twice I did. But prior to, I never touched his phone. But yet again, my mind doesn't go there. It doesn't think the worst. I've never been one to make those types of assumptions. I don't know if I said already that he started to get home later, but he started to get home later. I also noticed that he would go to the mailbox like every day as soon as he got home from work, and he would walk there and take his phone. What could he be doing during that time period, Jackie? If I knew then what I know now, well, obviously now I know what he was doing. Having that one final conversation like, okay, well, I'm home, so I gotta go home and be with my family. At last check-in with the mistress. During this time period, he was also very condescending, very aggressive, very cocky. Very, it's my way, not your fucking way. We ain't doing shit your fucking way. I don't give a fuck what you communicate vibe. Machista to the extreme vibe. And very nonchalant as well. And during this time period, he ended up blocking me on Instagram because I posted myself doing a workout where you do the butterfly for your inner thighs, and said I was trying to show my pussy to the world, when first of all, only women followed me, and second of all, I had a flannel in between my thighs. So he blocked me. So obviously he could say, well, I don't follow her, like she's blocked. You know, he has something towards his defense, that there's nothing there, that he's trying to figure out his way out. He also starts to play that card where, like, you don't give a fuck about me. Like, that I didn't care. The pobrecito card. That I stopped paying attention to him. Which partly is true after 10 years of the same bullshit and filling up his cup and nobody filling mine. Yeah, that's partly true. Mind you, and add 3 more kids. Yeah. But it wasn't to that extreme either. Now we had 3 kids. And a fucking dog. And bills I still had to pay because, you know, 50-50, bitch. That's why I won't go 50-50 no more. But anyways, that's part 1 of the discovery phase. See you guys tomorrow at the same time for part 2. There's going to be 4 parts total of the discovery phase of the random man in Rancho and how I caught him cheating. Last thing, don't try to find him. Don't fucking bother him if you know who he is. He's a fucking random man in Rancho. He is irrelevant. This is my story. And this is the sequence of events that pulled the rug from underneath me. And that way, from now on, whenever somebody asks, I can redirect them to this series and say, this is what happened. This was the final straw, etc. I don't have to re-answer those questions anymore. See you tomorrow. Buckle up, bitch. This is part 2 of how I discovered my ex-husband, aka the random man from Rancho, was having an affair. Yesterday, I told you guys about the change in behavior and what initiated his affair potentially. Now we're getting into the discovery phase. We are now in April of 2019. And I get a series of unexpected emails. I will insert them next. I was having lunch with my oldest son at the Habit Burger when I got this email. From a gorilla email, so basically an anonymous email, titled, "Your husband is cheating on you with a blonde." The body of the message list, "This is not spam. I just wanted to let you know I saw your husband with a girl with blonde hair, and it didn't look like you at Sushi Martini in Rancho." Before we go further into the emails, I want you guys to know, the emails were sent by the mistress herself, aka the hoe from Riverside. If you're from Riverside and you know a couple hoes, you probably know her. But I digress. Back to the story, bitch. Okay, before we get back to the story, dude, I'm so glad none of this shit bothers me anymore. Like, unfazed. At one point in time, I was dying. My soul, my body, everything in me was dying. Okay, let's continue. My obvious response is, well, did you take a picture? Because I need proof. And she responded, no, I didn't want to take a picture and make it obvious, but it was last week sometime. Okay, bitch, what the fuck do you want me to do with that? So then I responded, I said, are you sure that was my husband? What day? At this point, I'm already asking him, like, what is this about? I also sent the email to his brother, and his brother was like, I wouldn't believe that. Like, he wouldn't be that stupid to actually do that in Rancho, seriously, where people know you, because I had a business here. But I wasn't as social media famous as I am now. I had a very small platform, like maybe 30,000 followers. My business had a bigger platform. Anyways, the response was, it was on Wednesday around 1-ish. I follow you on IG. I know for a fact that was your husband because I had to black that out. But my ex is in the service industry, and apparently my ex-husband and her husband knew each other, which later turned out to be true because the random man from Rancho used to be her husband's barber. Imagine fucking a longtime client's wife. Anyways, let's continue. Why wait till today to tell me? Are you sure? It's a big accusation. A family, 3 kids. Are you 100%, 110% positive? Did you tell your husband? Because obviously if her husband knew mine, then she would have told him, right? Look at her, so sweet to compliment me and care about my feelings. Didn't want to get involved, but as a wife and a mother, I had to tell you. I would not have said anything if I wasn't 200% sure. She was 200% sure, all right? Because she was the one that was getting piped the fuck down by my husband at the time. I would never want to ruin a family. But from what I see, you're an amazing mom and wife, and it's unfair to you and your kids. Was it though? Was it? Hoe from Riverside? Was it unfair? Because the hoe from Riverside didn't actually seem to care that she was fornicating with a married man. But given her track record and how many baby daddies she got, yeah, it checks out. Me still not believing this random person because my brain don't fucking go that way, because I don't assume the worst in people, because that's not my own personal character. I said my husband showed me his schedule. He was at work at the time. Her response, I just wanted to make you aware. Again, seeming to have too much information, right? I've given you all the information I know. I would suggest looking at his social media, purchases, phone history, and his whereabouts for the last couple of weeks. Don't be fooled so easily. It's up to you what you decide to do. The hoe from Riverside was dying to tell me. But she didn't want to get pegged as the bad guy. She didn't want the random man from Rancho to be like, why the fuck did you do that? Because she didn't want to lose her supply, of course. So she had to make it anonymous. I don't respond anymore. Then she sends me another email. It says, it's one thing to decide to work things out after an affair, but it's a whole different thing to get lied to and for a person to get away with cheating. Things will never change or get better until the truth is brought to light. If he's a good man, Savannah, then it's time for him to come clean and get help to save his family. And I just responded, I think you have the wrong person. Now I'll tell you guys why I responded that. Because the random man from Rancho sent me a picture of a doppelganger of him that a customer showed him and was like, dude, I saw this guy at the gym. He looks just like you. Sent him a picture. I was like, dude, that looks exactly like you. Fucking twins. Wouldn't you know? So I was more convinced. Like, yeah, this girl's tripping. I have no idea what the fuck she's talking about. And he's like, yeah, it must have been this guy. And she thought it was me, but it's not me. I was like, yeah, checks out. Makes sense. And I go on about my business, bitch. Oblivious as fuck. I finish having lunch with my kid. We go home. I'm folding the laundry with my baby girl on the floor. She's destroying all the laundry I'm folding. And he walks in the door. And the first thing he says is, who the fuck did you piss off? What the fuck have you been doing behind my back for somebody to make those accusations? What have you been doing? And I was like, jaw on the floor. Because I was like, wait a minute. You didn't get that email. I did. So why am I being accused? Red flag, ding, 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 ding. But I didn't see that as a red flag, bitch, because I'm stupid. Because my brain doesn't work that way. But I was like, what are you talking about? You're not the one that got an email. Like, come at me sideways if you're the one that got an email. But you cleared it up. I'm the one that got an email. You cleared it up. I believe you. Okay. Like, why we gotta fight? Like, I just finished folding your underwear here. Put them in your drawer. Like, what the fuck? And that is part 2 of the discovery. It took me a while, bitch. Because I'm not fucking crazy. Because I'm not that girl. Sometimes I really wish I could, but I much prefer the way that I am because I feel like God shows me things whenever he thinks I'm ready, and whatever's done in the dark will always come to light. And I'm okay with the sequence of events because it allowed me to process step by step. I think if I would have been hit with it all at once, it would have been catastrophic for me because I was already dealing with postpartum depression from having my daughter. I think that I probably would have ended up in the loony bin as my mental health was hanging on by a fucking thread. See you tomorrow, same time, for part 3 of The Random Man in Rancho Finally Gets Caught. Part 3 of how I discovered my ex, aka The Random Man in Rancho, was having an affair. So we were just doing life day in and day out like I never received that email. At this time in 2019, we actually lived in Hesperia. If you guys are local and you know Hesperia, you know it's a fucking bitch to take the 15 from here Rancho and go up to Hesperia. Takes forever, especially during traffic hour. We were trying to save money. So one fateful night, I have all my kids. It's about 9 p.m. And we're pulling up to our house in Hesperia. And my oldest son says to me, wait, Dad's not home because his car wasn't in the driveway. And I was like, no, he's not home yet, but he's probably on his way or he's probably stuck in that same traffic that we were stuck in. Or he's probably with his girlfriend, because we always used to say that, joking around. My son was in the back seat at the time as we're pulling into our driveway and he starts panicking. He's like, it's because mom, I have to tell you something. It's because mom. And I'm like, what? What's wrong? What's wrong? So I start recording him. But then he's like, are you recording me? Are you recording me? And I was like, no. I was just holding my phone. I just turned my phone around. So if you rewind the hands of time, at the time my son was 6 years old. So he was really small. So I didn't want to stress him out even more. So I was like, what's wrong? Like, tell me what? Like, what's wrong? And he's like, well, it's because I was using Dad's phone because the Random Man in Rancho used to take my son with him to work after school. And he would give my son his phone to use while he finished up his work. So my son would be playing whatever games were on the phone, YouTube, etc. And if the Random Man in Rancho got any text messages, well, my son couldn't read. He was only 6 at the time. But my son said that his dad got photos of somebody, and one of them, she was like this posing like on a bed, and another one was just like her face, and that she had blonde hair. And so I asked my son, I was like, oh, well, who do you think it was? Like, who was it? He's like, I don't know, mom. But it said, and then he says the initials. I'm not going to say the initials. We're going to call her the hoe from Riverside, so we're going to say HR. But he told me her initials. I was like, okay, well, did you ask your dad? He says, yeah, I asked him, but he said it was the receptionist at his work. And he's like, but the receptionist has black hair. and the girl in the picture had blonde hair. He's like, mom, that's weird, right? Or do you think maybe it was her sister? So he's trying to tell me like maybe it was the receptionist's sister because the receptionist has black hair, not blonde hair. So I'm recording all of this. And I was like, yeah, baby, maybe that was it. And I was like, let's go inside. But inside, my chest is, bitch. And maybe like 2 weeks before that, I was making dinner and he had came home from like working out late after work, and he had came home and I was like serving his plate, and he had his phone on the countertop, and he got a text message from a random number that said, hey, I made it home. And I was like, who's telling you that? He's like, oh, the guy that I was working with. And I was like, oh, working out with. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird, but whatever. Well, it was HR, bitch, without a title on her name. He was constantly taking off the labeling a name and leaving it a phone number and etc. But I digress. So that video that I took of my oldest son telling me what he saw on the Random Man and Rancho's phone, I sent it to the Random Man and Rancho's sister, his youngest sister. And because I have no fucking ounce of crazy, she told me what to do. She said, tomorrow, go to the phone company and you're going to get the phone records and blah, blah, blah. And she was trying to like make sense of it. Like, it's not true. Maybe it is true. Like, what is going on? I know at some point she probably contacted him, but obviously I don't have any information about the things that they talked about, except one bit of information that I'll tell you guys in a bit. So then the Random Man and Rancho gets home after I've already had all this information, and I'm just trying to keep my composure. He gives my son his phone. My son asks for the phone because he wanted to like watch some videos, and he goes to take a shower. When he goes to take a shower, I take the phone from my son and I try to find those initials in the contacts, and I can't fucking find them because the man was fucking changing them. So I couldn't find the initials. So he was, trying to cover his tracks in every which way. I couldn't find them. I was too nervous. I had never gone through a phone, so that was the first time I ever went through his phone. I had never gone through a phone like that, so I had so much anxiety, and I just wanted to find the initials as quick as possible. Couldn't find those initials. And this is how I know it was so much fucking trauma, and it literally puts your nervous system into shock, and you're literally like not functioning anymore, is because I don't fully remember a lot of those details of like what I did after that. But I do remember confronting him, but not in a way of attacking him. More so like asking, like, what is this about? And I did go to the phone company and I did look through the phone records, but I didn't even know what the fuck I was looking for. But I did end up finding a phone number. And myself and one of my best friends was blowing that fucking phone number up. And the girl responded, she sounded like a fucking chuntara, the hoe from Riverside, and was like, ask him. Bitch, I'm asking you because the motherfucker's not going to tell me. Okay? But okay. And she just stops responding, blah, 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 blah. Well, of course, he's not going to admit to anything. But he does end up admitting to his sister that they were friendly and they just, like, had an emotional affair. Like, if it were to be called anything, it would have been an emotional affair. Because they just got too friendly and became too good of friends and telling each other's problems. But it wasn't anything more than that. And so, obviously, when I get this information, I talk to him about it. And I'm like, well, you can't talk to her anymore. Like, I don't know what the fuck that was, but it ends today. And he was like, no, I get it. Like, blah, 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 blah. We'll just forget about it and start from scratch. Like, nothing happened. Okay. But I had a feeling. I fucking knew. I had a feeling. But God knew that I wasn't ready. He knew I was not ready for all of the information yet. So from that point forward, from July until the next discovery, I spent almost every single day begging, pleading God that when he thought I was ready to please show me the truth, the real truth, because the shit wasn't fucking adding up. And I was starting to put pieces together from left and right of what had been going on. So I was like, okay, this isn't the full fucking story. There is more to this. And I need you to show me when you think I'm ready. And one thing about God and me, he doesn't play. He doesn't play. Every day I prayed, every day I cried and listened to worship and just begged until the day came where God showed me everything. And everything that was done in the dark fully came to light. It wasn't just an emotional affair. It wasn't just them communicating too much or being too friendly. It was obviously so much more than that. So stay tuned for part 4 of the discovery of how I caught the Random Man and Rancho having an affair. And I want to reiterate that I am just not that person. My mind doesn't go there. I need actual proof. And also to go and hunt for it makes me fucking physically sick. Like the anxiety. I don't know how y'all people do it that go through phones and fucking stalk locations and do crazy shit. Like I would fucking die of anxiety and nerves. I have no idea how you guys do that. I could never be me. My mind never goes there. But one thing is true is God is always faithful. And he will uncover everything in the safest way possible. And when you are ready. Leave the random man in Rancho alone if you know who he is. All you guys need to know is that he's a random man in Rancho. You guys don't need to know who he is. Y'all don't need to bother him. Y'all don't need to know who the whole in Riverside is. Leave it alone. If I see it in the fucking comments, you're getting fucking blocked. Okay? That's it. Part 4 of how I discovered my ex-husband, aka the random man in Rancho and the hoe from Riverside were having an affair. I would like to reiterate, please don't try to find them. Don't bother them. It doesn't fucking matter who they are. This is my story. And that is why we labeled them as such, to leave them anonymous. Before we get into the last discovery, I also want to point out a few things. Between the summer until September 2nd of 2019, I had never actually had a relationship with my ex's family. And prior to all of this happening, we were in the building stages of trying to have some form of a relationship. So during this time period, because I felt so isolated, I leaned into his family. Big fucking mistake, bitch. Because they were one person in my face, but they would mock me behind my back. And later gaslight me. And protect him rather than hold him accountable. So talk about feeling real fucking isolated and this fucking small. And women at that. I noted in one of my previous videos, there was an increased level of the sex drive had gone up. And I think that that's pretty common when people are having an affairs. I've seen that research before. But being that this person was sleeping with not only me, but also the hoe from Riverside, there was an increased amount of discharge and a change in my bodily fluid. But I wouldn't have attributed it to anything. I thought my body was just going through something postpartum because I never imagined that that was going on behind my back. However, he did notice. And one time, I believe that it had been a period of time where they kind of had stopped talking. And he made it a point to tell me like, oh, you haven't had a lot of discharge lately. Like, It made me feel on edge, like I had done something wrong because I'm like, oh shit, well, fuck, I don't know. He's going to be thinking that I did something, blah, blah, blah. But it was this man this whole time. But I digress. So he was supposed to have stopped this emotional affair, and we started writing to work together, to spend more time together. And low-key, kind of like if I was babysitting him. Like, nah, fuck that. We're going to write together, dip together, because I don't know what the fuck you're hiding. Especially because we lived in Hesperia at the time. And so that made me feel a little bit more comfortable. He also blocked her on Instagram. I got to see what her handle was, but I never actually looked at her profile because I knew that I was not okay at that time. And had I looked at her profile, it would have been engraved in my mind and it would have hurt me. Like I would have seen her face every time I woke up and right before I went to bed and the entire fucking day. That's probably all I would think about. So I never actually went to her page. I just remember her social media handle. And I believe he also blocked another account. I don't know who that person was to her, whether it was a cousin, a family member, somebody that covered up for her. I don't fucking know. But she was related in some way. So whatever, we're just doing life. I'm still praying like, God, show me. Show me. And I'm just going back in time in my mind and trying to put pieces together while still trying to work on the relationship and be a mom and run a business. Everything. Talk about survival mode as fuck. It's now Labor Day weekend. I'm with his family all day, which he hated, by the way. Either because he didn't trust them or he was just extremely jealous. But in any case, he's at work. I go pick him up from work. Him and I had a planned date to go to a paint and sip here in Rancho. So our kids stay with his family. My mom was also there at the pool. Him and I go to the paint and sip. We have a couple of drinks, we do our painting, we come back, everything's all good. We pack up the kids from the pool, everybody's saying their goodbyes, and then we want to go to Sonic because they have like these little ices or whatever. So we go to Sonic. As we're in line at Sonic, I get this email. You can see the timestamp. It's 9:44 p.m. because it's the end of the night. Hey, Jackie, I'm one of your followers. I don't know how to start this email, but I was at blank on Friday and I seen your husband and I thought it was you. But as I got closer so I can say hello, I realized it wasn't you. She also has blonde hair. I seen her get into a white car. I could clearly see him grabbing her. I've seen him from the videos you posted and I'm positive it was him. I almost didn't want to send you this email because I feel bad, but I feel like as a wife, you deserve to know I'm sorry. This time, not from a gorilla email. This time, this email. Mrs. Jen Lopez, 1995. I think we all know that the email was also written by her. Because again, my followers will fucking DM me, bitch. You don't need to write me an email. You know how to DM me. So we're in the car and I'm like, what is this? My kids are in the car though. And honestly, I don't remember. I don't remember the fight, but I remember crying. I remember screaming. I remember we went from the room to the closet to try to keep quiet because the kids are hardly sleeping till it rolling over in the morning. I remember telling him in the morning, this is it. I'm going back to the phone company and I'm going to fucking figure this out. He sat on the bed in the middle of the bed like a child. And he just threw his hands down and said, can we just forget about it and just start over? Like, I'm not going to talk to her, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I'm going to fucking figure out what the fuck is going on. So I leave that day. I go straight to the liquor store. I think I bought myself a fucking 40, bitch. And from there, I go to T-Mobile. I pull the phone records. But this time, instead of blindly calling the numbers that I didn't know, and since it didn't work last time with the Chuntara girl telling me, oh, ask your husband, I had this idea that maybe there was multiple or what the fuck was really going on. So this time, I really got it together. And I remembered the email from April 19th, the one that I told you guys in part 2. And I said, if I were to find the number, it's going to be somebody who contacted him or he contacted on that date. Guess what, bitch? It was one phone number. And it was that one. And with that phone number, I found the address, the names affiliated with that address, her actual name. Again, I don't really remember because the fucking trauma. Like, I don't really remember what was discussed, what was said, like the arguments or any of that. But I couldn't get any information out of him. None. Deny till the day he died. So what was my only other option? Call her. And she was, condescending as fuck. It was like, you should ask yourself why he wants to leave you. Why he wants me and he doesn't want you. Ha! Well, you had him, bitch, and y'all ain't together, so the fuck? Calling me and telling me that I can't keep a man, bitch. But could you? So this went on for about 3 days. And I was drinking all of those days. Because I had no idea how to fucking cope. And I just wanted to be numb. Until finally, in text conversation, she started to divulge information. Because he was never going to tell me. All I figured out from him was that affair started in February when I took those 3 weeks to go be at my mom's, my best friend's, and my sister's house because we were having so many problems. We weren't fucking broken up though, bitch. It wasn't your fucking free pass to go and start a new relationship. We weren't fucking split. We were having a difficult time. It wasn't a free fucking pass. But that was the justification of where it supposedly started. And then it continued all those months until I discovered it in September. I did find the text messages. So if you guys want to see the text messages, I'm fucking embarrassed for myself because I can see how fucking pathetic and sad I was and desperate for answers. But I'll show them to y'all if y'all want. And from there, I still stayed. I begged. I pleaded. I did everything that a pick-me-shit bitch would do to try to save my marriage. Everything. From enrolling us in therapy at church, to finding church mentors, to praying for us, to fucking washing this man's motherfucking feet, okay? The most humbling thing that you can do. All of that. I was like this small bitch trying to figure my life out. I stayed for about 1.5 years like that. And looking back now, no regrets, because that time period gave me time to heal, gave me time to work on myself, and gave me time to actually leave without having to ever look back. Like, I never looked back. Once I was able to grab myself by the balls and dip, that was it. I was able to dip and never look back. And I don't think I would have been able to do that if I just left when I was so distraught, also going through postpartum and still having my babies, and my business. It would have just been too much, too mentally crippling. So if any of this sounds familiar to you, or my story sounds familiar to you, or you're going through this right now, I just want you to know that you can get to the other side, that there is something beautiful on the other side. Give yourself patience, have grace with yourself, and trust me, there will be one day where you will feel like enough is enough, and you will start to choose yourself, and things only get better from there. I have endless stories of what happened after the fact, which I'll share eventually, but that was the gist of how I discovered the affair. Oh, if you guys want to see the text messages, which I probably will post even without you guys asking, yeah. Because it's part of the story, bitch. Hey, love you. Have a great day. Bye. I'm dead. This comment went, yes, bitch. I was stupid as fuck. Dumb. And yes, I too am so glad I'm not in that anymore. But I did want to answer another question. How did I know it was her? So let's look at this from the outside looking in. It was sent to me from a gorilla email. So not even an actual person. A real email. Secondly, she said she was a follower of mine on IG for many years. If you were a follower of mine for that long, then you would have interacted with me at some given point. So for you to be a longtime follower and not message me on IG and be a woman about it, kind of fucking sus. But it was finally confirmed later on. The random man in Rancho confirmed it. He's the one that told me that it was her trying to send the message because she wanted to destroy our family or whatever. She wanted the truth to come out. The girl wanted him for herself. That's why she was trying to find ways to tell me without being the one that actually told me, because that would cause problems between the random man in Rancho and the hoe from Riverside. She had to get creative. How could I forget? This is why I love you guys that have been here for a long time, because you guys have seen the change from beginning to end without me having to have told you guys anything, just the behind the scenes of what was going on. But yes, one day I had a severe panic attack. My body knew something was wrong before I actually knew something was wrong. My body knew the math wasn't fucking mathing. So this is prior to Discovery Part 3, which you guys will see tonight. But I was at my office with my daughter and my mom. We were just having a good time. We're having conversation. I had actually filmed a YouTube video with my mom that day, a Q&A. And all of a sudden, my body went into full panic mode. And I had some thoughts in my mind. The type of thoughts that occur when things are not right in your relationship and you know that things are not right. Like, we were not communicating, we weren't like texting, things like that. Like, it was like we were strangers. So of course I'm thinking about all these things because you know when your relationships are not right, you carry them into your day. You can't even focus at work, etc. And I don't know what happened. Everything was fine and my body just went into full panic mode. My mom ended up having to drive me to the hospital, and I was having such a severe panic attack that I lost oxygen to all of my extremities and my hands started to cramp up. My feet were cramped up and I was like, I had never experienced a panic attack that severe. I couldn't control my breathing. It was bad. And I had to call my husband at the time to let him know, dude, I'm in the hospital, and that he would have to get my boys. And this is how bad things were. I called him several times to his cell and he did not pick up. And I'm hyperventilating. They're trying to take my blood pressure. I'm I need to call my husband. And I'm my fucking hands are fucking twisting and shit because I'm losing oxygen to my extremities because I'm having a full fucking fledged panic attack. Can't get a hold of him on his cell. Have to call his work. His work says he's not available at the moment. Where was he at? He was outside with the hope from Riverside. But I digress. Finally, he calls me back. And he's like, what's going on? And I'm I'm in the hospital. I'm having a full-fledged panic attack. I don't know what happened. I was fine. And then I just started freaking out. And I'm literally in the hospital. I was admitted to the hospital. He comes and instead of comforting me, starts asking me questions well, what caused it? Why are you feeling like this? What caused it? What happened? There had to have been something. Of course, the man was trying to figure out if I fucking knew the fuck this motherfucker had been doing behind my back. I didn't though. I didn't. It's just my body. I had an anxiety attack, but I didn't know anything. He just had those continued questions. And this is how you know that he just wasn't a great husband. My mom was you're going to come to my house and I'm going to take care of you. He's not going to take care of you. He's going to have you at home. And since you're at home, he's going to have the kids stay and leave you with the kids. And you're trying to recover. Absolutely not. So me and my daughter went to my mom's house because my daughter was still not even 1 yet. So I was still breastfeeding her. So me and my daughter were at my mom's house for 3 or 4 days. My mom took me to get massages. She took me to get the cupping, anything to de-stress, decompress my body because it was in full shock mode. And I was in so much pain from not having oxygen go to my muscles that my whole body was sore. It was aching, kind of like when you have a fever. It was horrible. It was really horrible. He did come to see me at my mom's one time and he just hugged me for a little bit. We fell asleep for maybe 2 hours and then he dipped. And yeah, that whole time, all he tried to do was figure out why were you what are you stressed about? What was it? Huh? I'm going to tell you guys the story of the final straw. Basically my breaking point. And it starts here. This is my bathroom. And do you see that hole there? Yes, for those of you that are going to ask, I still live in the same place that I lived when I was married. Because bitch, California's expensive and I ain't moving. I digress. This is another important part of the story. No, it's not the same bed, not the same mattress. I definitely cleared my space and made this space my own. But in any case, we all know in order for something to end, it has to reach a breaking point. And I think people expect it to be this big, grandiose thing. But let's be real here. We're women, and we know this all too well, that it takes several different incidents that add up over time before we reach our final breaking point. Obviously, I had already been through it all. To obviously the most extreme, which was the betrayal, the affair. So that's why it may shock you when you hear what the final straw was for me. It's really quite simple. A couple of weeks prior to this incident, I had discussed with my partner that I wanted to establish some boundaries. I had been going to therapy, I had been going to church, and I had been really trying to heal myself and heal the anger that I had inside. And I had a discussion with said person about what my boundaries were. Let's start really small and let's start establishing boundaries that we had never established in the beginning of our relationship because we were so young. And what did we know, right? So I was if we're going to make this work, we're going to have to figure out a way to communicate better. So I said, one of the things that I want to do is that whenever we have a disagreement or an argument, let's learn to really think before we speak, not get super angry. And especially for him, he's very aggressive, has an aggressive demeanor, flares up his chest, very scary, uses his manliness, I guess, to intimidate, to make his point instead of just communicating. So that was it. Very simple boundary, right? Because you wouldn't talk to anybody on the street like that, right? Or any random person that crossed you like that. So why with your partner? Let's just give each other human decency and respect. So then you fast forward and an argument brews up over something very small. I don't even remember exactly what, but it had to do with maybe the house or maybe the kids, but very small. And that argument blows up. Because why? There's a lot of fucking underlying issues that are not resolved. And what happens when the argument blows up? Tempers flare. Not mine. I was still trying to stick to the boundaries and stick to my fucking therapy. Flares up his chest, ends up getting in this very macho demeanor. He had a brush in his hand at the time, like a comb. And I was standing near that edge of that bed that I showed you guys. And he ends up throwing that brush into the bathroom and making that hole out of anger and frustration. And I don't know why this shocked me, but I was just like, and then I sat on the edge of the bed and I saw my whole future. And I was like, ain't no fucking way, bruh. If I stay here, this is going to be my life. Do you want this to be your life for the rest of your life? Like, is this what you want for yourself? You can't even request to be spoken to with respect, with no aggression, because that can't even be done. If he can't even give you that small thing, how do you expect him to do anything else for you? Or make any changes or have any remorse for all of the things that he's done? He can't. How? If that one small thing couldn't be accomplished. Not even like he tried to fake the funk. It had only been like 2 to 3 weeks prior to that discussion. And I stayed quiet for some time, for a couple minutes. And then it's just like, it clicked. And I was like, this is it. It's over. You need to move out. It's over. And I say you need to move out because I had paid the rent. Because we were already on wishy-washy. And because I knew I could afford this place. So I was like, yeah, you're going to have to go. And he didn't believe me. Shut the fuck up, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, I'm so serious right now. And I think that he was in such disbelief of what I was saying because it just seemed so insignificant to be like, you're going to have to leave after this. Like, this is it. That he began accusing me of cheating on him with a guy who possibly works at Mama Por Dios. I'll tell you guys a story about that at another time because I don't know nobody that works there. But that was his story in his mind. And yeah, that was the final straw. It sounds crazy, right? But it's like once you're at that end point, it's like you're just waiting for that one last thing to happen to be like, yep, okay, done, bye, peace. Because I felt like I was waiting for that. Like I was waiting for something to trigger something so I could be like, okay, yep, this is it, bye. Because I was already done. I just didn't know how to leave. Like I just didn't know. I didn't know how to walk away. I didn't know how to do it. I couldn't find the words. I couldn't just leave it without saying there was a reason, you know, no matter how much therapy I was in.